1987. A desperate banker approached a legendary businessman with a proposal. A failing company could still be saved, but only if he agreed to step in. Everyone expected him to say yes. Instead, he walked away. Not because he couldn't save the company, because he believed some battles were never worth fighting. The reason he gave tells you everything about the kind of man he was. One should not close in on a weak colleague. Those were his words. The company in distress was India Cements. The banker represented one of India's premier development financial institutions. A decade later, that very act of grace would cost him everything he had spent a lifetime building. This is the story of B.V. Raju and Raasi Cement, a man who believed that integrity and kindness still had a place in the unforgiving world of business. He poured years of vision, hard work and hope into building an enterprise he cherished like his own. In the end, the company he had nurtured with such care slipped from his hands. Welcome to the Instinct Story, where the defining stories of modern times come alive. Bhupati Raju Visam Raju was born in 1920 into an India that did not yet belong to itself. He graduated with a Bachelor of Engineering in Chemical Technology from Banaras Hindu University. He later attended a management program at Harvard, and he was awarded an honorary doctorate from Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University. He grew up under the British. He built his career in the years after independence, when the rules of business were still being written, when fortunes were made not with spreadsheets, but with relationships, patience, and reputation. By the 1970s, he was one of the most respected industrialists in the country. In 1978, he founded Raasi Cements. Not the biggest company in India, but one of the most efficiently run, one of the most admired. 7 years later, he built a second one, Sri Vishnu Cement. Together, they made him one of the most powerful cement producers in southern India. In 1977, he was awarded the Padma Shri, and starting in 1997, this man, who had already given India an industry, began giving it something else. Engineering colleges, a dental college, a hospital, schools built quietly for the next generation. He wasn't just a businessman, he was an institution. He was beloved, and in early 1997, he had no idea at all, that it was already slipping away. 400 kilometers away, in Chennai, a different kind of man had different kinds of thoughts. His name was N. Srinivasan. To understand what happened to Raasi Cement, you must first understand the man on the other side. N. Srinivasan was not an outsider to the cement business. He was born into one of India's oldest cement families. India Cements had been founded in 1946 by two visionary industrialists, S.N.N. Sankaralinga Iyer and T.S. Narayana Swamy, Srinivasan's father. The bond between the two founding families extended beyond business. Srinivasan's wife, Chitra, is the granddaughter of Sankaralinga Iyer, linking the legacies of both co-founders through. Educated as an engineer at the College of Engineering, Guindy, and later earning a master's degree in chemical engineering from the Illinois Institute of Technology in Chicago, Srinivasan combined technical expertise with an instinct for strategy and competition. In 1989, he took charge of India Cements as its vice chairman and managing director. What followed was one of the most ambitious expansion stories in the Indian cement industry. Plant by plant, acquisition by acquisition, market by market. Under his leadership, India Cements grew into one of southern India's most formidable cement manufacturers. But Srinivasan was never content with merely defending his company's position. He was always looking for the next opportunity. And in the late 1990s, that opportunity had a name. Raasi Cement. Every fortress has a weakness. For Raasi, it wasn't money. It wasn't the market. It was family. In 1995, something broke inside the Raju household. Amid private conflict, B.V. Raju's own son-in-law decided to sell his shares in the company. There was, reportedly, an understanding, an unwritten promise that the shares could one day be bought back. They never were. Srinivasan moved in and bought the stake. With one transaction, a family's grief became a stranger's opportunity. The gate to Raasi Cements had been opened from the inside. What came next wasn't an attack. It was something quieter, something patient. By 1995, 4%. By 1996, 5%. By 1997, 8%. No press conferences, no warnings. Just a steady, unhurried accumulation, like water wearing down stone. And while this was happening, B.V. Raju was living the life of a man who believed his empire was secure. He held, with his family, around 43% of the company. That felt safe. It wasn't. January 1998. Srinivasan's stake had quietly climbed to over 18%, and the market noticed before anyone else did. Raasi's share price, which had sat calmly around 50 rupees just months earlier, was suddenly violently rising. Someone was buying. Someone with deep pockets and a clear intention. N. Srinivasan. The secret was out. B.V. Raju was 77 years old. He had lived through partition, through the license Raj, through the emergency. He was not a man who panicked, but he did now. He called an emergency press conference at the Viceroy Hotel in Hyderabad. And he didn't come alone. He brought his daughters, his sons-in-law, his grandchildren. Every member of his family who could stand beside him stood beside him. We are one united family and will ward off any takeover threat. It became a rallying cry across Hyderabad. Telugu pride, they called it. An Andhra institution being swallowed by a man from Chennai. The anger in the room was real, but anger doesn't appear on a share register. And the share register was moving, percentage point by percentage point, toward Chennai. Before the public war, there was a private meeting. Srinivasan visited Raju at his home. By his account, he said this wasn't hostile, that he was simply protecting Raasi from being taken by an even larger foreign company. He even claims he offered to hand back his shares and share management. Raju told it differently. He said he made the offer to buy back every single one of Srinivasan's shares. 10% profit, 20% interest. A guaranteed profitable exit. Srinivasan said no. And in that single refusal, if Raju's account is true, the old man understood everything he needed to know. A man who turns down a guaranteed profit isn't there for money. He's there for the company. February 1998. Srinivasan crossed the legal threshold and made it official. An open offer. 300 rupees a share, a premium of over 70% above market value. He camped in Mumbai for days, presenting his case to every institution holding Raasi stock. Patient, methodical, leaving nothing to chance. One institution, the Unit Trust of India, sided with Raju. It felt like a victory. It wasn't. Srinivasan had already planned for that too. March 1st, 1998. The Andhra Pradesh government, through its own Industrial Development Corporation, a partner that had stood beside Raju since the company's founding, sold its stake. Directly to Srinivasan. No statement about Telugu pride. No call to the industrialists who had rallied in support. Just a clean sale to the highest bidder. The state that had not lifted a finger to save him would, 3 years later, give him one of its highest honors. But that's later. Right now, in March of 1998, the noose was tightening from every direction at once. Raju wasn't a man who gave up easily. He searched for a savior, a white knight. Someone, anyone, willing to step in. He approached 3 of the biggest names in Indian and global cement. Every single door stayed closed. Maybe they feared the fight. Maybe the price had already climbed too high to make sense. Whatever the reason, the result was the same. B.V. Raju was alone. What happened next says more than any number ever could. A man who had chaired national institutions, who had been honored by his country, began traveling village to village, sitting with farmers, offering part cash, part post-dated checks for a handful of shares each, trying, quietly, desperately, to claw back fractions of a percentage point. It didn't work. The courts offered no shelter either. Even Raju's own lawyers had to admit Srinivasan had broken no rules. In 2 weeks, the Raasi share price collapsed by half. There was nowhere left to stand. While the public war raged, Raju made one more move, quietly in the background. He transferred his stake in his second company, Sri Vishnu Cement, to 9 firms controlled by his own family. At a fraction of its real value, it was the act of a man trying to save something, anything, from the wreckage. It would come back to haunt him. Regulators would later investigate the move for nearly a year, a question that would follow him long after the main battle was already lost. April 1998. The negotiations were long, but the outcome was never really in doubt. B.V. Raju sold his 32% stake. Srinivasan now controlled 53% of the company B.V. Raju had built from nothing. 3.8 billion rupees. On paper, it looked like a fortune, but after debts, after obligations to family, after everything owed to people who had stood with him for decades. 30 million rupees. That's what was left for B.V. Raju himself. 3 crore rupees from a deal worth 1.5 billion. He walked out of that room with his dignity. And almost nothing else. Let this child of mine be happy, even if it is with a new owner. For N. Srinivasan, this was only the beginning. His empire grew. Market share doubled within a year. He would go on to lead Indian cricket's biggest institutions and build one of the most famous IPL teams in the country. He never once expressed regret. For B.V. Raju, 3 years after losing everything he built, his country gave him the Padma Bhushan. He died in 2002. But the colleges still stand. The hospitals still treat patients. His name is still on the gates. And somewhere, on construction sites across South India, his company's name is still printed on bags of cement. Raasi Gold. The name survived. The man did not get to keep it. For more than 2 decades, business schools in India have studied this story. They teach it as a lesson in strategy, in takeover law, in the mechanics of a stock market that doesn't sleep. But the real lesson was never about regulation. It was about 3 quiet assumptions a good man made, in a world that had already stopped believing in them. He assumed 43% was safe. He assumed family meant loyalty. And most of all, he assumed that decency would be remembered. The market has no memory for mercy. N. Srinivasan understood the new rules of the game. B.V. Raju never stopped playing by the old ones. And that is the real story of how an empire changed hands. In December 2024, Ultratech Cement, the flagship cement company of the Aditya Birla Group, completed its acquisition of India Cements. Ultratech acquired a 32.72% stake from N. Srinivasan, his family and their associates, in a deal valued at approximately 3,954 crore rupees. The man who had spent decades meticulously building and defending his cement empire ultimately yielded to a far larger rival. After one of the most remarkable journeys in Indian corporate history, N. Srinivasan chose to cash out, bringing to a close an era that had defined India's cement industry. Thank you for watching the Instinct story. If this story deepened your understanding of the people, ideas, and events that shaped our times, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue bringing history's defining stories to life, one remarkable chapter at a time.